The day you become the first millionaire in your family isn't the day you feel rich. It's the day you find out what everyone else has been keeping score of the whole time. The offer came in at 2.1 million for an app you built alone in a spare bedroom for 6 years while everyone asked when you were going to get a real job. You signed the papers at a lawyer's office with beige carpet and a bad coffee machine, and you drove straight to your grandmother's house afterward. Not because you had news to tell her, but because Thursdays were the day you always went. You found her at her kitchen table under the window light, mending the elbow of your uncle's old work jacket by hand, a needle going in and out slow and even, the way she'd done it your whole life instead of just buying him a new one. She didn't look up. She asked if you'd eaten. You hadn't told her the number. You hadn't told anyone. Your phone buzzed on the table between you. Your sister. Heard you sold the company for real money? We should celebrate. You stared at it. You hadn't posted anything. The buyer's name wasn't public yet. 3 people alive knew the number, and none of them were your sister. You didn't type anything back. You just sat there while your grandmother pulled the thread tight and bit it off with her teeth, and you understood something before you could put words to it. Money doesn't wait to be announced. It finds its own way out of a room. You go get her a glass of water because you don't know what else to do with your hands. And for about 3 minutes standing at her sink, everything is still ordinary. Then your phone buzzes twice more, both from your sister. The second one just says, "You always said you'd take care of us when this happened." You stare at that sentence for a long time. You don't remember saying it. What you remember instead is 9 years ago, the two of you splitting a studio apartment you couldn't really afford, and her handing you her car keys for 4 months straight after yours got repossessed. No interest, no deadline, just here, take it, I'll walk. She never once brought it up again. Until now, apparently, it had never left her hand. Word moves through a family the way water moves through a basement. It doesn't ask permission, it just finds the lowest point. By Saturday, everyone knows, and your mother does what your mother always does when something big happens in the family. She throws a barbecue. It's loud, it's warm, your cousins are cannonballing into a pool that's too small for cannonballing, and for a while it feels like the family you grew up in. Your sister finds you by the cooler with a beer already in your hand before you asked for one, grinning, telling the table you'd better start tipping better now. Everyone laughs. You laugh too. That's the trap. It has the shape of love, the teasing, the whole yard laughing at the sister who made it. And for 1 second you let yourself believe nothing's different. Then your cousin leans in, half joking in that specific way that isn't, and asks if you're hiring, because he could really use something right now. You laugh it off. He laughs too. But you're starting to hear it now, under every laugh in that yard, a hand held open just slightly. A joke is just how people ask for something they're not brave enough to say out loud. You look for your sister again, and she's not laughing anymore. She's watching you brush the cousin's joke off, and something moves across her face fast enough that you almost miss it. She wanted it to land. She wanted you to say yes to something, even a joke, and you didn't, and she clocked it. 3 weeks later, you're at her place picking up a table she doesn't need anymore, and there's a boat in her driveway. Not a small one. You know her mortgage. You know what she makes at the clinic. You do the math you wish you didn't know how to do, and the boat isn't something she can carry. It's something that's going to carry her under in about a year. She catches you looking and doesn't look caught. She looks proud, tells you to come see it before you even say hello. This is his answer, you realize, standing in her driveway. This was never about the water. It was about the gap your money opened up between you, and she's spending money she doesn't have so the gap won't show. People don't resent your success. They resent what it says about the choices they didn't make. She calls you 2 days after that, softer than the boat, softer than the text messages, the old voice you haven't heard in a while, wants you to come by, wants to run something past you. You go, because you want it to be the old her so badly you say yes before you've hung up the phone. You shouldn't have. She's got coffee ready when you get there, and she's nervous in a way the boat never was. Then she says it. $45,000 to buy into a friend's skincare franchise, guaranteed territory, can't miss. Under the table, 9 years quietly rearrange themselves. A borrowed car then, $45,000 now. You always said you'd take care of us. She's not asking you for a loan. In her mind, she's collecting one. You know the answer should be no. You think about the driveway, the boat, the pride on her face. A quiet voice in you says she doesn't want your help. She wants to be even, and you can't buy a person even. You say yes anyway, because you're not really saying yes to the franchise. You're saying yes to the sister who handed you her car keys and never once brought it up. It's only money, you tell yourself. You can afford to be wrong about $45,000. For a while, it actually works. This is the part nobody warns you about, because it's the part that does the real damage. 10 days in, she shows up at your place on a Sunday with 2 coffees and a ladder in the back of her car, says she noticed your gutters were sagging when she drove by, climbs up and clears them herself, won't take a dime for it. Halfway up the ladder, she looks down and says, "I'm paying every dollar back. You know that, right?" With the old grin, the real one, and you believe her completely. You think, "I was wrong about all of it. It got tested and it held." You let your guard all the way down. That's exactly when it goes. The call comes the next weekend. The franchise collapsed before it opened. The friend had already spent the buy-in money on something else entirely. There's no apology in her voice. There's something you've never heard from her before. She's not asking for more, not exactly. She's explaining why you're going to give it. The 45 was just to get her in the door, she says. Walking away now wastes all of it. You wouldn't even feel another 20. She says it like your money is a limb gone numb. You sit there holding the phone, and you're not thinking about the 20,000. You're thinking about the ladder, the gutters, the grin, and how she must have already known the franchise was dying that Sunday morning she came with coffee. The gutters weren't kindness, they were a deposit. Generosity, the moment you're expected to keep giving it, stops being a gift and becomes the baseline. You tell her no, your first real no, and it comes out smaller than you mean it to. She goes quiet, says okay, says she gets it, hangs up. 2 days of nothing. You start to think the no held. Then your mother calls, and she opens with the sentence that tells you exactly who got to her first. Why are you doing this to your sister? Not a question. A verdict already reached. You try to explain the boat, the franchise, the second ask, and you can hear your mother not listening, just waiting for you to finish so she can say the things she called to say. She's struggling, your mother says, and you have so much now. As if the number changed what you owe. You want to say she didn't lose the money, she lit it on fire and called you for more gasoline. You don't say it because your mother isn't being cruel. She's just standing where she's always stood between her children. Except now one of them has everything and the other one has a story, and she's already decided which one needs her. After that, it's never a fight. That's the part nobody tells you about. It's your cousin calling you moneybags with a laugh that has a small hook in it. It's a group chat you notice you're 2 messages behind on, then 5, then not in at all. None of it is big enough to point at. If you brought up any single piece of it, you'd sound paranoid. So you say nothing, and you just feel the temperature of every room drop half a degree when you walk in. In the middle of all of it, your grandmother, who has said exactly nothing about the money, shows up on a Wednesday with no reason at all, sits at your kitchen table for an hour telling you a long, pointless story about a neighbor from decades ago, laughing at her own ending, rinses her cup, and goes home. No ask. No now that you can afford it. She drove over to do nothing but sit with you. You don't think much of it yet. You will. Thanksgiving almost doesn't happen for you this year. You sit in your car outside your mother's house for a full minute before you go in, and you go in anyway, because not going would be its own kind of confession. For an hour, it's careful. Everyone's careful. The conversation stays on the food and the game, and somebody's kid's braces. Your sister is across the table, not next to you, which somebody arranged without saying so. She's quiet in a way you've never seen her at a table, a few drinks in, and you keep talking to your aunt about nothing so you don't have to watch her decide whatever she's deciding. Then your grandmother asks you plainly, across the table, how the new place is coming along. The only person all night to ask you a normal question, like you're a normal person. Before you can answer, your sister sets her fork down. Must be nice, she says, not loud, almost gentle. The table doesn't go silent right away. A couple people keep talking for a second before they feel it. She's looking at you now, no grin left, nothing performed about it. We lost you the day that money came in, she says. You didn't get rich, you just stopped needing us. Nobody defends you, not because they agree with her, because the silence is easier than picking a side out loud, and silence you're learning is its own answer. You look at your mother, she's looking at her plate. You look for your grandmother, and your grandmother is the only one still looking back at you. For 1 second, a thought you're ashamed of goes through you. Maybe she's right. Maybe the money did something to you that you can't see from the inside. It passes as fast as it came, but it leaves a mark. Because the cruelest part of an unfair accusation is the half-second you spend wondering if it's true. You leave early. Nobody fights you on it, and that's the loneliest part of the whole night. How easy you are to let go. People will forgive you for having money. They will not forgive you for having a limit. The call comes on a Tuesday, 3 weeks later. No reason for it to be a Tuesday, except that it was. Your mother's voice, and you can't understand the words at first, only the shape of them. Hospital. Now. Your grandmother collapsed in her kitchen, and by the time you get there, your sister is already in the hallway, arms crossed. And for the first time in months, there's nothing between you. No money, no boat, no scorekeeping, just two people who are scared of the same thing. She looks at you and her face just breaks open. You put a hand on her shoulder and she lets you. And neither of you says a word about any of it, because none of it was ever big enough to survive a hallway like this one. Your grandmother is awake when they let you in, smaller in the bed than you've ever seen her, but awake. The worst of it already passed. She wants the room cleared, wants just you. You sit in the chair beside her and you don't know what to say, so you say the true thing. That she scared you. She smiles a little at that. And then, in the plain voice of someone too tired to dress anything up, she tells you the things she's never told anyone. The ring your grandfather gave her, the one you'd always assumed she kept in the drawer out of sentiment, she sold 6 years ago, the spring you moved into the spare bedroom and started building the app on a laptop that kept overheating. You'd always thought the rent you weren't paying that first year was just her being generous with space. It was never space. It was the ring, quietly turned into 6 months of not having to worry, folded into the start of you, and she never said a word. Not when the app nearly died twice. Not when it sold. Not the day you drove straight to her kitchen with news you hadn't even told her yet. You built it. Every one of those 6 years in that overheating spare room was yours, and no one can take that from you. But you never built it alone, and the one person who never asked you for anything is the one who made the beginning of it possible, and then erased her own fingerprints so completely you spent years thinking you'd done it by yourself. You ask her the only thing you can get out, why keep it a secret? She tells you about her own younger sister, a name you'd heard maybe twice growing up, a woman who stopped coming around before you were old enough to ask why. Money, your grandmother says. She lent her sister money once, a long time ago, and after that the money was always in the room with them, sitting at the table like a third person, until one day her sister just stopped showing up. I wasn't going to put a number between us, she says, so I made sure there wasn't one to find. The ones who never ask you for anything are usually the only ones who were never keeping score. She's tired now. She closes her eyes and tells you to go find your sister, that she's still out in that hallway. You're both still mine, she says, and that's the whole of it. The only thing she ever says about the war that nearly split her family in half. She doesn't take a side. She refuses to let there be one. She comes home. She's slower, but she's home, and nothing gets fixed exactly. Your sister doesn't pay back the $45,000. Your mother doesn't apologize for the phone call. The family doesn't reset to who it was before the money. Families don't reset. They just learn the new shape of themselves and keep going. But something in you has gone quiet. The scorecard you didn't know you were keeping. Gone. Not because anyone earned it back, but because you finally know which kind of person each of them is, and you've stopped expecting any of them to be a different kind. The money didn't change your family. It just turned the lights on and showed you who'd already been loving you in the dark. It's a few months later, a slow Sunday, and you're at your grandmother's table with her uncle's old jacket in your lap, the elbow torn again the way it always tears, and you thread the needle yourself this time and go in slow, the way you watched her do it your whole life instead of just telling her to buy him a new one. She sits across from you and doesn't say anything, just watches your hands do the thing her hands did for 40 years. And you finally understand what she was saying all that time with a needle and thread and a jacket that never got replaced. She was never mending a sleeve. She was saying I love you in the only language she had, the one that doesn't ask for anything back, the one that doesn't keep score, the one you couldn't hear until the year everyone else got loud. You bite the thread off and set the jacket down. She's still watching you, not saying anything. You don't say anything either.